Now, we got the tournament on Thursday, which is tomorrow. We got the NCAA Tournament Sweet 16, baby, at the Garden, and I'm excited. Great slate of games, phenomenal slate of games, sexy slate of games, all right? Sexy slate of games. Now, let's get right into it. You got the first game, Michigan State, Kansas State. I was shocked to see Michigan State opens up at a 2-point favorite. Shocked. We understand that the seeding is a little wonky, so you can't really take that into account when you think about spreads. And also, let me also say this. I mean, when you're picking a tournament team, and this has always been the formula, we know this, great coaching and good point guard, strong point guard, reliable point guard, and Michigan State has both, and especially when you talk about coaching, Tom Izzo is Tom Izzo. I mean, if this wasn't Kansas State that they were playing, I would, without a doubt, not be in any type of confusion why they were a 2-point favorite. But the issue is that they're playing Kansas State, who is just too likable. They're just too likable. I mean, bottom line, you got Keontae Johnson, which I wasn't even aware, dropped basically dead on the floor at Florida a few years ago. Comes back, instead of taking the $5 million insurance policy, decides to start playing again. Kansas State takes him, boom, and guess what? He's dropping dagger threes in big moments in the NCAA tournament already. That's awesome. Then you got the coach. I don't even know his name. He's dancing to Lil Baby in the locker room like a dad. He's doing this slow robot type dance, okay? Awesome. He's calling everybody dude. He's saying we had more dudes than than Kentucky. I mean, unbelievable stuff. And then lastly, the icing on the cake, we know that, is Noel, who is a 5'8" Steve Nash and Pete Maravich reincarnated. I mean, or however you say that. On top of that, he is just, I mean, he's dropping these threes that are hitting the rafters. The arc on these jumpers is insane. And lastly, I mean, he's a killer. They interviewed him after the game. They're asking him his message for the other teams. They're literally asking him the message for the other teams at Madison Square Garden, at MSG, for the Sweet 16. And he says, kill or be killed. And he says it in a fully, gangster way. It's sick. I don't know how you could root against this team. Again, the spread's 1.5. I'll take them money line all day long. So I got Kansas State first. Done. Easy money. Next game, UConn, Arkansas. Now, this is a little bit of a tougher one for me. UConn has this weird thing where they went from being the darling of everyone to in the beginning of the year to then kind of falling out of graces and then coming back to being strong. And now everyone's saying, oh, they should have been ranked higher. They should have been seeded higher than just a 4 seed. And either way, they're a 4-point favorite against Arkansas. And it's a sketchy line to me because I just think Arkansas has a lot of heart. And if you're a UConn player and you're on that floor, especially in the last couple minutes of that game, and you even think for a second, if we lose this game, Arkansas's coach is taking his shirt off and he's whipping his shirt around for the crowd. Those nipples are out, baby, for the fans. If you even think that, if that gets into your brain at all, UConn's going to blow it. This is the beauty of the tournament, is that when these kids, because they're not pros, they get a little emotional, it's over. So I still like UConn. I think they're too good to not win this game. Do I think they're going to cover the 4? Who knows? But I'm going to take UConn -4. So that's my second pick. Next, you got FAU, Tennessee. Now, this is also a tough one. This is my first underdog pick of the tournament, believe it or not, of the tournament, of the day, of the Thursday. And it's for good reason. I think FAU, and I don't want to act like some expert here, but I've been seeing a lot, especially over the last 2 years, that FAU is this program that wants to become one of the big boys, right? They want to become a big dog. And it makes sense to me. I mean, this roster was constructed phenomenally well. They have the big man who has athleticism. They have great shooters, and they got a good point guard. I mean, what else can you ask for? So you take that, and then you look at Tennessee, and they matched up against Duke very well. They were dogs on the floor. I mean, really, when you think about how they locked up Duke, it was crazy. But injuries are there, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of charm with FAU, so I like FAU. So I'm taking FAU +5. I'd also take the money line if I could, if I was gambling, which I'm not. But yeah, FAU +5. And then last game of the Thursday is probably the best game, I'd say. I do think Kansas State's going to run away with that Michigan State game, so I don't think it's going to be the best game. But to me, the best game is going to be Gonzaga-UCLA. And I'm heavily biased in multiple directions for this game, so I'll try to be as objective as possible. But with Gonzaga, I have a horrible history of betting on Gonzaga or picking Gonzaga. Whenever I take them, either for a spread or just money line, they either choke outright or they don't cover, backdoor cover city, yada, yada, yada. Then when I pick against them, they have Timmy drops 35 and they have the game of their lives and I lose regardless. And then on the flip side, I've been having an itch on my nose here. On the flip side, I have always, for the last 3 years, I mean, UCLA has been my team. Period. End of sentence. I mean, when I got to see Juzang light it up in the tournament, you got the magic of Mick Cronin, who I liked at Cincinnati. You have Tiger Campbell running around with a Darth Vader helmet of hair on his head. I mean, it's incredible. It looks like he's in Spaceballs. He looks like he's Rick Moranis in Spaceballs. You have that. Jaquez is Draymond Green, but in the NCAA, and he could shoot the ball probably better. He's an incredible passer. He knows how to use his body. He's amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, I love that team. Then I was so excited. It was a shame when they lost 2 years ago. Juzang returns and just lets everybody down. I don't know what happened. He was going to be a lottery pick, and he just brutal. Last year was a huge letdown, but you saw some other players, some other pieces that could have did some good stuff. And then this year, I kind of not wrote them off, but I wasn't thinking too much of them because Juzang leaves. He was my guy. And so I didn't think much. In fact, I actually have Gonzaga in my Final Four, and I picked Gonzaga over UCLA. But for this one, again, UCLA is a small favorite. They're a slight favorite at 1.5. I'm taking UCLA because I like Mick Cronin too much. I know Clark's out, and the other kid went down with the ankle at the end of the game after he hits the three. And Drew Timme, what is it, his 50th year in the NCAA? I mean, when are you going to retire, bro? When are you going to call it quits and become a coach? But the point is, it's always a complete shot in the dark with that Gonzaga team. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. They haven't impressed me in this tournament, and UCLA I just like too much. And I just think they're a better team. I do. I think they're a better, more dynamic team. They have better leadership, aside from Timme, who is like the elder statesman of the entire tournament. But I like UCLA, so I'm taking them -1.5. Now let's get to Friday. Good games on Friday, not as good in my opinion as Thursday. Friday, we start off with SDSU, Bama. So San Diego State, their road to get to Bama hasn't been that hard. And yeah, they're a good team. I think their roster is pretty solid, but Bama, to me, is the best team in the tournament, period, in the sentence. Their big guns finally woke up. The spread's heavy. It's 7.5, but I think they covered all day long. Not going to spend too much time on it. I think they win by double digits easy. So I got Bama. Next game is Houston against Miami. Now, Miami is another team I have in my Final Four, but in this case, I got to take Houston. I got to take Houston. It's a 7-point spread. And I just think they woke up in that second half of the Auburn game. They realized, I mean, who are we? We're the number 1 overall seed. We have a great roster with an amazing coach. What are we doing here? And yeah, it took some help from Auburn missing like 80 free throws, but I like them in this game. Now, Miami, it's another interesting one because I loved Miami last year, similar to how I loved UCLA from 2 years ago and last year. I loved McGusty. I loved the Australian center. I loved Moore, the point guard. To my chagrin, because I didn't follow it too much this year, they're all gone. They're all gone besides Isaiah Wong. And I liked Wong last year also, but he was just one of the cogs in the wheel that was a great wheel. Now he's like the main guy. And so I took Miami again for the Final Four, partially because I knew no one was going to have it, and secondly because I love the coach, and I love, again, I love that team from last year. So I was mortified in the first round of the tournament. I mean, they looked horrible. Wong looked clueless. I mean, slipping all over the court. That's another thing, by the way. This is like the Super Bowl here. I mean, how many times, and I know it's a different court now, thankfully, that court specifically, that side of the bracket that Miami played on, how many players over the first 2 days of the tournament, or I guess 4, it was Thursday to Sunday, slipped on that floor? Just insane. Not only is he going to get hurt, you're going to ruin the game. So you got Wong slipping and sliding all over the floor, missing wide open layups, missing gimmies, and they somehow squeaked that out because Drake just choked. I mean, realistically, Drake just really, really choked. I don't think they scored for the last 5.5 minutes of the game. Miami, you see these games in the first and second round of the tournament where both teams are trying to lose, and it's like a game of chicken. Who's going to choke worse? And so Miami pulls it out, and then they looked strong against Indiana, and Wong looked like he was back into his usual form. So, you know what? I'm going to switch my pick here. I'm going to be a nice, spontaneous Johnny Kith, a nice little Johnny Spontaneous, and here we are. I like Houston to win the game, but I'm going to take Miami with the points, 7 points. Fuck it. Why not, right? So we got Miami. +7. And now, last 2 games, we got Princeton-Creighton, -9.5. I've been a big Creighton guy the whole tournament. I had them actually in this round losing to Zona. Obviously, they're not playing Zona here. They're playing who beat Zona, Princeton. And 9.5, believe it or not, is the heaviest spread of the day. They're given 9.5. It's a tough one because Princeton's just a wild card, right? And it's funny. Mike Francesa said this, and I agree with him 100%. When you're a 15 seed and you're a nameless kind of small program, it's fun. You're the darling of the tournament. It's exciting. But when you're Princeton, you already have an identity. Everyone in the world knows who you are. You're Princeton. So it's not as fun rooting for Princeton. It's just not. And so they've got a bunch of guys who could shoot. Do I think they're going to cover or not? I don't know, but do I think they're going to win? No. So I'll just take Creighton because I do like them. They have a strong team. And that man over there, McDermott, he knows how to coach some boys. So as I make my computer go back alive, give me a second. So yeah, I got Creighton -9.5, and then we're gonna finish off with Xavier, Texas. Now, I love Miller as a coach, always have, whether it's Zona or Xavier. They scared me in the first round a little bit, but overcame it. Obviously, they won late, which was just a choke, complete choke from Kennesaw State. I think it was Kennesaw State, and so there's that. And then you got Texas, who is riding the momentum of Beard having a full meltdown, obviously getting fired for the domestic issues, and this new coach they seem to like a lot. They looked strong against Penn State. I wasn't too impressed. If Dessou had anyone over like 6'7" to guard him, he wouldn't have been shooting over them like they were like a high school player, and so he wouldn't have went like 18 for 20 or whatever he did and have like 30 points, whatever the line was. But Timmy Allen, I always liked from last year. He's a strong guy, great defender. He looks a little bit to me like Jason Tatum for some reason. Obviously, their games are fully different, but he just reminds me of Tatum. I don't know why. And he's got the twin. I don't know if he's still on the team or not, but I didn't see him. But yeah, it's a tough one. I'm gonna take Xavier +4 because I like the coach, because I like Miller, I like Shawnee. So that's that. We got all those games knocked out. My favorite games I'm looking forward to is Gonzaga, UCLA. I just can't wait to watch Kansas State play as well. And then on the Friday, I guess Miami, Houston, because I think if Miami does upset Houston, I'm really in the running for my bracket, especially with Gonzaga beating UCLA. But I mean, again, who knows? So there's that. Now, also, my friend Luke, who always gets upset when I don't shout his name out. So here you go, Luke. We're shouting you out here. He does a survivor pool, which I got to get involved with. Now, I know I don't gamble, but and this is kind of like a gray area here, but he does a survivor pool I didn't even know existed for the tournament, and I don't know how it works in the first couple rounds because you got to pick more than one team. But for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, you just pick one game a day, which is sick. So for Thursday, he was asking me, who do I pick? Who do I pick? Who do I pick? And so it's I mean, for me, there's two picks that are kind of no-brainers. There's UConn, who just I think it's very sketchy because I can see Arkansas winning so easily. I really could. But if you're going to just go with, you want to be objective here and just like, if you lose that game, you go, you know what? They beat me. It wasn't my fault. You go with UConn. But also, again, Kansas State. I know the spread's tight and they're technically an underdog, but if you're scared of taking a 1.5 point dog in the tournament, especially that's a higher seed and has a good history and good players, then, I mean, you have no balls. So my pick would be Kansas State. I don't know if you can only take a team like once also. So if that's the case, then I don't know how you'd play that. You'd probably take UConn. I guess I'd rather have you. I'd rather take UConn because I'd rather have Kansas State in my pocket for later. But that's what I take Thursday, and then Friday. Again, I don't know if we're assuming that you could take teams multiple times, it's just day to day. I'm taking Bama all day. Now, if that's not the case, then the clear choice is obviously Creighton because you're not going to have to take them again, and they're probably going to be Princeton. So that's that.